Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over one of my favorite new consoles, Nintendo 2DS. We're going to jump right into it. Nintendo is a very, very hard company to beat when it comes to the handheld market. Here's why. You've got your three main companies, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. Those are the three big names in video games right now. Nintendo doesn't do too well in the United States in terms of consoles, unless it's a handheld console. Sony does well with their PlayStation 4, but their recent PS Vita did not fare so well. That was kind of a flop. Microsoft has the Xbox One, which is popular with teenagers and people that like to play peasant games, but they don't have a handheld console for some reason, which blows my mind why they don't have a handheld. So this is really the handheld to beat. Nintendo does not have too much competition. I haven't really played around with handheld consoles for a really, really long time. I had a Nintendo DS Lite, which was the collapsible one of the first collapsible new Nintendo DS's, and I haven't played on a handheld console in that long of a time. I obviously got into PC gaming and all of that and a bunch of different micro consoles, but then this Nintendo 2DS sparked my eye. There's been a lot of consoles since then from Nintendo: the 3DS, 3DS XLs, DS XLs, but this is the first one to really catch my attention. Now, this is the first flat wedge non-folding console that they've done in a really long time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first Nintendo handheld console since the Game Boy Advance to not fold, because after Game Boy Advance they had Game Boy SP, which folded. Then they went into Nintendo DS's, and then on came this. So this is the dulled down version of the 3DS. It's the 2DS, and we're going to talk about some important features there. But let's go over what you get when you buy one of these. Just the console ranges right around $100, between $99 and $120, depending on what color scheme you have. They have 5 color schemes currently. I'm not going to list them. You can research that yourself. But I got the black and blue model, as you can see here. So let's take a quick look. It's 5 inches long. It's 5 3/4 inches wide. Does not fold. 2 screens that we have up here. This is not, I'll actually flip it on for you here. This is a 3.5 inch screen. This is a 3-inch screen. This does do touch support with their apps and other things like that. Down below this screen up here is just for viewing. No touch screen there. Put it back in sleep mode. The sleep mode is awesome on this. Up here you've got this omnidirectional joystick. I think it's called the C-stick. You've got your up, down, left, right directional pad. Up here, if you can see kind of over here, there is just one speaker. They cut it down. Normally the 3DS and those folding Nintendo handheld consoles have wonderful speakers in them, but to shave the price down a little bit, they only went with one speaker. It's not too great. We'll get into that a little bit later. Down here, very hard to see, little pinhole for the microphone. On the side here, left side, we've got our left trigger button and a volume slider, and then a spot down there where you can kind of attach it to a keychain or key ring, something like that. Along the bottom here, we've got the sleep slider to put it in a low power mode. And then over here we have our headphone input jack. We've got our home button here, which is any old home button. It will allow you to exit whatever application or game you're in. To go back to the home screen, we've got a power button over here with 2 different status LEDs. This is that it's powered on. The one above it is if you're charging or not. We've got our usual start and select buttons, our A, B, X, Y buttons. Up here is a little status light that's used for some games. On the side here, we've got a little amber light there. That means it's connected to the internet here. We've got a stylus that pulls out of the back there. pretty decent stylus. In here, I flip that up, is your SD card, and they do include a 4 gig SD card that's pre-formatted, and they even put it into here. I wasn't sure if they included one when I unboxed mine a little while ago, but I found it in there and it works just fine. And then we've got another spot down here where you can attach some sort of keychain or lanyard to it, whatever you want. Up along, before we go along the top here, there's one camera. It's a front-facing camera. It's just a couple megapixels. Along the top here, we've got our L and R buttons that we're used to. Wonderful triggers. You've got your proprietary Nintendo charging port, which kind of looks like mini DisplayPort or mini FireWire. Up here is where the cartridges go, and then this is a IR blaster and receiver. Cartridges just work like a little SD card. You kind of push it in and it will click and it's locked in, and then you push it again and it will click out, and then you can take the game out. Last but not least, there are 2 cameras that are on the back that you can take 3D pictures. You cannot see in 3D, that's why it's called the 2DS. They took away the 3D features. But you can still take 3D photos with this and use some different augmented reality stuff that we will talk about shortly. So that's the back of it. Just has that blue band going across, a lot of different FCC information, a ton of it in there. It basically spans the whole back of the console, if you can see that. I've never read it, and I probably will never read it. Wonderful console, can't say enough good things about it. Battery life for me is between 6 to 8 hours. So I've been spending way too much time with this recently. So you may have to charge it twice a day, or at least once a day, depending on how often you use it. It does hold its charge very well. It charges back up pretty quickly in between 2 to 4 hours, depending on how good you're with it. Let's see, what else are we going to talk about? Operating system. I can't go over the operating system too much just because my web camera has a hard time capturing everything that's on here. I am going to get this hooked up to a capture software so we can go over it more. Very, very simple. Long time ago when I used to play handheld games, back when Nintendo DS first came out, if you wanted a new game, you had to go to the store and buy a new game. There was no, online market where you could just throw in your credit card information and buy a new game. But this has it, and it's wonderful. They've got a bunch of different retro remixes, everything from old NES games to Game Boy Color games to even some of the new titles that are brand new. $40 retail. You can get them basically $40 at your local retailers. But if you don't want to go there, you've got some space on your SD card. You can definitely download it and put it on there. I'm not impressed with the online portion of this Nintendo 2DS. Yes, it connects to the internet. It's got a full browser in it. You can download different apps like YouTube and Netflix and a whole bunch of different stuff that's on here, but the internet-based services aren't great. It doesn't do too well with Wi-Fi. It's pretty laggy. You'll open an app or a game, and then the screen will just go black like this for like a second or two, and you're like, what's happening? And then it kicks on and opens up the app or something like that, but there's a goofy little pause in between when you select an app or when you pick a game. The UI is a little bit interesting. It does have some games built in. If you pick up one of these off Craigslist or, you don't pick it, you just pick up the console, you don't pick up any games with it. They do have a lot of different bundles. The bundle that I got here in early 2015 was this console and a copy of Mario Kart 7. Didn't come actually in a copy. They just gave me a little card with a code on it that I could go to the store, redeem that, and then download it to the SD card here. And all of that included was $129.99. Different bundles that are out there. They've got bundles for around $150 with 2 games. You can get physical copies of games or just downloadable hard copies that you can save onto your device. Depends on what you want to do, but very, very affordable. It's great if you have a kid that loses these little cartridges all the time, and you don't want to go finding these. These are very easy to lose. Put in your credit card information, There's a bunch of different parental controls on here, so you can choose, what your kids are looking at, and how they can access your money. You can't just go on here and start buying apps like crazy. You'll need a password of some sort. And a viewer of mine did a recent comment. You do not need a credit card to sign up for this. You can use the Nintendo eShop is what they call it, and you do not need a credit card. There are gift cards that you can buy that you can preload funds. Even if you do have a credit card and you want to just put $10 on there, you just want to put $40 on there. If you just wanted to put the needed funds on there, let's say you buy a game for $5.99, you can only put the $5.99 on there. So you can kind of preload it as you see fit. There's no monthly subscriptions for this, of course. So for their online gaming network, if you want to interact with other gamers online, there is no subscription to that, which is nice because Nintendo is the only person that does not charge for their online services in a monthly subscription so far. Will that change? Maybe. I can't say that for sure, but right now Nintendo is the one to beat in the handheld market. Cameras on this, they're not great. Don't expect to go do some wildlife photography or something with this. They're good, and these two cameras are paired with a few cards that they give you. They have these things called AR cards, which is just these little cards here. This is the one that you'll actually use for the game. That's built into the console. But they also have these different character cards. You've got Mario, obviously, Kirby in there, Link, Samus, and the little Pikmin guys. And those character cards can be used with the two cameras that are on the back of here. And you kind of hold the cards on a surface, and it takes pictures of them, and it records it in real time, and you can play this kind of augmented reality AR games with it. It's pretty cool. So even if you just buy the console, it does have some games preloaded that you can play. They're kind of nice, but they're kind of cheesy, just like, some of the games that came free with the Wii, like Wii Sports or some of those other games. They're fun, but they're a little bit childish. But definitely a good console. Doesn't matter if you're a kid or adult or whatever. I use this game to kind of relive a little bit of my childhood. The new Majora's Mask remake came out for this. Looks absolutely fantastic. I remember playing it on Nintendo 64. Pokemon, they got a lot of new Pokemon games out there if you want to continue that story. And I'm pretty impressed about how Pokemon has definitely evolved. You can play all those games on there, but this also works with any Nintendo DS cartridge, any of them. There's a lot of different cartridges nowadays. The old Nintendo DS cartridges were a lot smaller, and they were black, not white. Works with those. Also works with the 3DS cartridges, which are this sort of cartridge. This is not a 3DS. This is only a 2DS because it only works in 2D. It doesn't have those 3D functions, which is fine. I never ever used them anyway. So you can play any 3DS or DS games, just no 3D effects. And that's fine. Still works out very, very well. You can't play any sort of Game Boy games or other things like that on it unless you get into modding. Now, there's a huge modding community for these. When you put a SD card in here, and I have no idea what Nintendo was thinking with that, that SD card leaves you wide open right there. You can install different firmwares, different operating systems on these. I've seen people run Android on these and turn it into a tablet. You can load different emulators and old Nintendo 64 games and Game Boy games and DS games and a ton of free games that you can find online with this. But that requires a couple additional purchases, and you got to be pretty tech savvy to start getting into modding this. But I might start modding it, maybe not. I'm pretty content with what I'm getting out of it right now. If games start to get pricey, or if they don't have enough good games out for it, maybe I'll get into modding, but that's something to think about. So cons to this console: it's very, very good. First of all, pros: love the price. Really good titles that are coming out for it. Mario Kart 7 and 8. New Super Smash Bros. Is fantastic. The new Zelda games are coming out. Those are great. Mario Party came out. That was good. You got all the old Mario Classic games, and it's backwards compatible. It's not like the new Xbox One where you can't play any of the old 360 games, and you know everybody's being a pain in the neck with that. So this is very compatible, works very, very well. It's inexpensive. It looks great. It's durable. Those are your pros. Cons, the speaker. It's only got one little teeny tiny speaker over here, which is kind of lame. It's mono. Could they have done something over there? Probably, but for the price, right around 99 bucks, just the console, very, very affordable. I can't complain. The sound is good. Quiet office, even, you know, your standard living room, busy car, you're on a car trip, you'll definitely be able to hear it. I've had people even tell me to turn it down, you know, because I had the volume cranked. So the speaker does work fairly well. Don't expect any cinema quality sound out of this, but it works okay. Netflix, YouTube, some of the other apps, online services, I wasn't impressed with. It's laggy. It's different. It's got its own proprietary software, so it functions a little bit differently. But it's not bad, and they are improving on it. But nobody buys this to watch Netflix. This is not a mobile Netflix machine. You can easily get a tablet that's much more inexpensive, bigger screen, and will work better if your interests are Netflix. Games for it are good. It's not portable. Nintendo is very good at a portable console. This is not portable. Doesn't fit in my pocket. Doesn't even fit in my back pocket. But, you know, comes with you can get nice cases for it, different grips and other things like this. This does fit in my hands very, very well. It works well. I've got, you know, not the biggest hands in the world, but it fits okay. All of our buttons are right here. You don't have to reach for anything too terribly. It sits comfortable in your hands. You're not blocking the screens or anything like that. You're not blocking speakers. Everything is well designed, but it doesn't fold in half like all the other Nintendo handheld consoles do, so you lose a little bit of that portability. But with cases and other things like that, you could easily throw it in a bag. As long as you don't want to put it in your pocket, then you're fine. Price, also fantastic. Online market is good. It's expanding. It's new. So hopefully Nintendo really starts putting some of those titles on there. Older titles too. They have a pretty good market nowadays. I'm sure there's a lot of you that have one of these that own the entire market, because the market is not huge just yet. But it is expanding. Nintendo's doing a good job here in the United States of making that possible. And I've been very, very impressed with it so far. I haven't played handheld consoles since probably, I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s, so easily 10 years. Really happy to get back into this. Awesome playing some of those old games. It's amazing kind of the graphics that they can put on a portable console like this for right around $100. So that's about it, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to go over the operating system one day. It's pretty simple enough. Some games that I'm experimenting right now with that I recommend to you. Animal Crossing's pretty good. The new Super Smash Bros. Is good. Mario Kart 7's good. Pokemon Y I just started working on. And Majora's Mask. All of those games are very, very good. So if you have any questions, let me know. Like the video if you like it. Dislike it if you dislike it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the sections below. I might get into modding. I might not. I've been doing a little bit of research. I'm pretty content with the experience that I'm getting right now with it. But there might be a day where I get dissatisfied and I want to get some of those free games and kind of bypass the system. So I might get into modding. I'll probably be taking a look at a couple accessories. I might pick up a case for it, or one of those handheld. You can get a different grip, different controller layout for it. A lot of customizations, just like any console. So there's a lot more that we'll be going over. So I'll be taking a look at that in the coming months. Let me know what you think, and we will see you in the next one, guys. Thank you.